No, I think this. Okay, I think it still works.
You can, because like we want to be able to talk about whether it's ethically okay to have sex in Netherland. You know, so
I physically don't know if I could.
and that's the intro.
Welcome to Drafted. I'm your host, Preston Thompson, and yes, don't adjust that dial, dear listener. It finally happened. Daniel had it. He left the show. But you know what? It's still gonna... Wait. Keep listening. No, it's fine. It's fine. I know you were just here for him, but just give us a chance. Give us a chance. We've got a massive upgrade and guest here. Daniel's feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm taking him for hosting. But my friends here are going to help me along the way. They're going to guide me through this process with our great bracket tonight. I have a lovely couple. One of my favorite, definitely a top 5 couple for me in my life. Because I don't have a lot. But definitely, we'll go top 6. It's drafted favorite, Pat Stegemoeller, and Lisa. Pat and Lisa joining the show tonight. How are you guys doing? Pat, you're so close to wedding day. Any cold feet there, bud?
Well, let's.
That's a weird question to ask.
Before we get to that, you're doing a great job hosting.
Thank you.
Can I officially be the co-host today in Daniel's place?
Daniel and I have sort of decided that if we were to both perish, the show would be left to you.
Oh my God!
It's in our will and testament, and that if we had to have like a permanent third guest because people stopped wanting to come on the show, it would probably be you two. So I do think it makes the most sense for you to be the co-host, but you did sort of jump in front of Lisa there.
So this is amazing because, and actually a little ironic because my make-a-wish would be to be a drafted host, but it's actually Daniel who's sick that is making this happen.
Wow.
So
it was his make-a-wish to not have to come on the show and have you replace him.
It's sick to have your make-a-wish come true when you're in perfect
health.
But I'm also realizing, as I say this, that the exact reason why I could not be the host of the show is because of sentences like that. But yeah, I can't wait to get married to Lisa, my fiance.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Long-time listener, first-time caller, first-time guest. It's an absolute delight. I'm just tickled to be here.
Can you guys imagine if we took live calls? The chaos, the absolute chaos it would be. If we did this live and Pat was listening at home and being like, nope, they're wrong, and just dialed in and I saw a little light blink in and be like, oh, Pat has something to say. Let's just loop him in live and he'll say something that we can never take back or take off the air.
I could have gone for about 40 minutes on how shallow going down in the first round of last week's bracket was a crime against art and humanity.
See, when I said on the show that I think there's a tendency for Shallow to be an over-selected karaoke song, you were one of the people I thought about. And I've never seen you selected at karaoke. I just sort of had a sense that it would be on your list. Do you know what I mean?
Lisa and I duet Shallow as
well, there you go.
Our karaoke song. So I felt really attacked.
I just knew. I had it in the back of my mind. All right, guys. You know the name of the game. Lisa, did you bring something to drink tonight?
I certainly did. I brought this peach ale, which I can't read anything else on the can because it's in Korean. Picked it up from H Mart. So we're going to find out what it's all about. I was very attracted to the exciting can colors. Again, I'm not used to doing this. I know it's an audio medium, but for the folks at home, it has lovely abstract green, pink, and magenta swirls. So
nice color pop. Mm-hmm. Is this going to be a live crack on
air? Yeah.
It doesn't look open.
Absolutely.
I knew both you and Pat would bring the heat.
Of course. Okay, that's not a good crack. The tab just went sideways.
Take two.
I have performance anxiety. Okay, here we go. Could you hear that?
Oh my God. That was like straight out of an ad.
Yes. Amazing.
All right, Patrick. What are you bringing to the table?
I have another thing that Lisa bought at H Mart today, which is a lychee flavored hard seltzer. And the front of the can just says nectar, which like fine. But then the back of the can has a sort of like adult cherub with a lychee fruit. I don't know if you can see this, but it's like a cherub that looks like kind of older than a cherub should be.
That cherub,
which is like really unsettling to think of like a middle-aged cherub like, hey, baby, oh,
it's loving time.
Hey, show me where those legs go.
Nice. I'm just gonna have the audio clip of "Show Me Where Those Legs Go" with the beer popping.
That's really good.
Text it to you. I mean, yeah, lychee seltzer sounds amazing.
That's a top. That's like a top 3 hard seltzer I've ever had.
Ooh,
probably.
Nice.
Well, I knew you guys would bring the heat. I knew it wouldn't be water or Gatorade, even though we are recording on a Monday night. But you guys just get it. You understand the vibe. I'm drinking gin and ice.
Nice.
Malfi gin, lemon. It's from Europe somewhere, so pinky's out. Fancy me. We love European gin. For our bracket tonight, we are celebrating the happy couple, dear listeners, who I'm assuming at some point are going to go on a honeymoon. Lisa, is a honeymoon in the cards?
Oh, yes. Honeymoon is in the cards. It is well into the planning stages. We will be going to, drumroll please. I can't do that. Portugal. We're going to Portugal.
Oh, okay. So I originally had the idea for this bracket, which, spoiler, it's going to be best honeymoon destinations. And I seeded it just based on like all the different, as I usually do, aggregate scores of all the different websites, U.S. News, blah, blah, best place to go for honeymoon. Portugal is consistently in like the top 2 or 3, which is awesome. So you guys are going for more of a like, we want to go explore a new place honeymoon instead of like a we want to go, or is it like best of both worlds? We want to go sit on the beach and we want to explore a new place.
It's a little more of a we want to chill out. We've both actually been to Portugal before, but we're going to spend the majority.
Sorry.
It was actually
Wow.
it was our first international trip once we were able to fly after getting vaccinated, and you still had to take a COVID test to go back in the country, but it was in flights were dirt cheap. And honestly, the flights are not that expensive. I think that's what makes it a good option. Besides the fact that it's Europe Disneyland, it's still pretty inexpensive. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to be chilling in the Douro Valley, drinking port wine. Maybe if we're feeling fancy, we'll go boat on the river. And then maybe do a little exploring back in Lisbon. But we're going right after the wedding. So we're kind of doing it in the traditional sense of going straight from the wedding to just enjoy being married.
Yeah, I did that and cannot recommend enough. I thought, we had 7:45 a.m. flights the next morning after the wedding, and I was like, that's a challenge.
Whoa.
That's going to be miserable. But it was
okay.
It was either that or it was like 3 p.m. So those were the only 2 options. Like, well, I don't want to waste a day. We were going to like a Sandals, so like I wanted like every minute of it to count. And I swear I woke up after quite a festive night at whatever it was, 6 a.m. And I was like, I feel perfectly fine because I know that I know what I'm about to go do, which is go sit and be pampered and rest on the beach and drink a bunch. And I was like, oh, I feel great. And we got to the airport and everything was lovely and fine. And yeah, we stretched our wedding weekend into like a whole experience and didn't have sort of the letdown in between, which I think is a very smart move from you guys. So you've traveled a lot together before. For our honeymoon, it was the first time we'd ever flown together.
Whoa.
Which I think is a very interesting wedding experience. We've been together at that point for 9 years, but we just never flown on a plane together. And Lauren got to see that I'm an absolute like white knuckle flyer. I'm a very easygoing traveler, but when that big tube of metal just starts defying everything I know to be true and is up in the sky, I cannot be convinced that I'm not in danger.
Dude, same. I spend the entirety of a flight with the sensation of when a roller coaster is going up right before the fall.
Yes.
Like the scariest
the anxiety.
Part of a roller coaster, where it's just like that feeling of, oh, it's too late for me to back out of this, which is a universal feeling not just with roller coasters and airplanes. Like in all walks of life, we have the feeling of, oh no, I am no longer in control of the next moment for me. Like the die has been cast.
Yeah,
and it's just for 5 hours.
I don't give any credence to the people that are like, well, the people who are scared of flying, they should also be scared of driving because traffic accidents are much more common. Okay, listen, man. I don't understand how the plane works. So I cannot be convinced that everything is fine. They're like, well, the turbulence, like you're bouncing around, but what are you even going to hit? There's nothing up there. I was like, it's not that we're going to hit something. The wings are going to fall off the plane and we're going to plummet to our deaths. We don't have to hit anything. This tiny tube has to be light enough to float through the sky. So I'm assuming it's just not built very well. And turns out, based on recent events, I'm sort of right. So sorry to give that omen to you guys.
Well, no, but I do think this is an important thing that will potentially be factored into these honeymoon destinations for the bracket, which is like ease of access and like getting to a place.
Yeah, some of these I'm seeing are going to be too long of a flight from New York already.
Yeah.
Yes. So as you can see by the shared screen here, dear listener, if you are watching on YouTube, we have the best fictional locations, fictional locales. And if you have complaints about the list, you can direct them straight to me. I basically just made it with, stuff that was on the top of my head. I'm sure we're missing some stuff, but I wanted to create some fun matchups, so I just made a list and then randomly seeded it. And what do you guys think? Any questions before we just jump right in? Do you have any factors you're trying to consider here? We talked about ease of access.
I mean, I think there's a lot that goes into it, and there's different ways to do a honeymoon. You've got like the all-exclusive thing. You've got the more like we're using this as an opportunity to go on like a big adventure trip. You've got, I think, what we're going to be doing for our honeymoon, which is a little bit more of a we just want to like chill out in a very relaxing place that we know, but is also beautiful and seemingly like in a different world from our troubles.
Yeah.
So I think we'll discover a little bit as we get into it. I will say that one thing that I'm definitely keeping top of mind is the food, because I think a big part of the honeymoon for me is just having like, and not just like having like great gourmet food or like always be eating at like, Michelin star type places, but just the ability to be eating whenever you want to seems like a key factor.
Yeah. I'm going to level with you guys. I weighed myself the morning of my wedding, and then I weighed myself when we got back from the honeymoon. And over that 9-day span, I gained 12 pounds. And I've managed over the course of 3 years to lose 4 of them, but I don't think I will ever make it back. Like, I've had periods, I've had like almost entire months where I'm doing 6 times a week, and I'm really feeling like I'm really committed to it, and I just can't break it. I think that's just me now. I think I got married and I got fatter, and that really sucks for Lauren, but she said in sickness and in health, so here we are. Yeah. All right, let's jump into round 1. Our first matchup here, Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. Not the only location we're going to see from Lord of the Rings, because that's who I am as a person. And the Kanto region from Pokemon. This I sort of feel like we need Daniel to advocate for the Kanto region. I'm certainly not going to, but I don't know. Let's start somewhere. Lisa, where are you?
Well, I'm familiar enough with Lord of the Rings, have read a little bit of books, have seen all the movies, so I've got that picture in my mind. Kanto region, I do not have it all. The only Pokemon I played was flat and black and white, like ye old Pokemon Red.
Would hate to go there.
Yeah, I would not recommend. You can't go.
No color. This place is very boring to look at.
Yeah. So
Kanto is the region from Pokemon Red and Blue, though.
It is.
Is it really?
It's like the first series of games is Kanto region. So your Charizards and your Blastoises and such.
all I remember were a couple of like very square-looking roads and some very similar-looking gyms. I don't know if I'm trying to go to the gym on my honeymoon, but please give me some more. I would love some more context about what could be good about the Kanto region.
Okay, I'm going to make Pat do it.
I think one of the things that could be good about the Kanto region that is a weakness of Rivendell is that it does seem like the world of Pokemon and the Kanto region is kind of a utopia. Like, healthcare is pretty much immediate, and the only problem with
medicine.
the world is like poachers. Like there's like one like organization of poachers, and that's like kind of all. That's like the last thing we're grappling with.
They're
as
not
a
even
society.
really poachers. They're like the nicest possible variant of poachers, and you're right. They are the most evil people in the universe, and you're like, well, you guys aren't even really that bad.
Yeah. So I think that would be good. Some other advantages is good geographic diversity. You know, you've got beaches. You could go out to Cinnabar Island if you want to do that. There's mountains. There's woodlands.
It's clearly very walkable because you don't even really get a bike until like most.
Right. You can walk. You can bike. There's a train.
Oh, I love public transportation. Wow.
If you're like an alt person, you can go to the spooky old power plant. You know, for like an ironic honeymoon.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that'd be a great thing to do. It's vacant. Nobody's there.
There's some drawbacks as well, though. You know, to just to give the paint a full picture. Particularly with food, I don't know what they eat there that aren't Pokemon.
Rice balls. That's the only thing that they're seen eat on the show because the concept that they could eat. Well, they eat Magikarp too. Actually, I guess there's definitely like periods on the show where people are hinting at the idea that Magikarp is like a delicacy.
Yeah. So
Sushi.
There's that.
And everything you could eat has an adorable little face.
And can say its own name.
It can say its own name out loud.
Okay, so I'll be eating rice.
With how many Pokemon there are right now, I'm sure there's a rice Pokemon. There's got to be a rice Pokemon. Where now every living thing in the Pokemon universe has a stand-in like actual creature that can audibly say its own name.
Right, because like even the plants are creatures there.
Exactly. Yeah, and the ice cream cones and the candles. I think the Pokemon world would just be extremely dangerous. You take 5 steps off the beaten path and you're being attacked by a bird. And you better have a bird of your own, or else that bird... have we talked about what happens if you just run out of Pokemon and you sort of... It's because the Pokemon beat the shit out of you because you didn't have one to defend yourself. So it doesn't seem like you can do a lot of exploring because every time you go into a cave or a forest or something, there's things trying to kill you all the time.
Can you get like a tour guide situation where you get a Pokemon assigned on arrival?
Ooh, that's interesting. I could fly you from place to place.
Yeah.
Like a really good one too. I want like rare bird Pokemon that you don't get till like way later in the game.
Well, you're gonna have to pay extra for that. That's
It's my honeymoon.
You're balling out.
Yeah.
That's true. It's a good point. No expenses spared. I hate to shortcut it here, but for me, this is just going to be Rivendell. Rivendell has felt like just one of the most relaxing places to me. You talked about like the healthcare system being a utopia. In Rivendell, they just have magic healers walking around. They're not even really that special. Like most of them can do it. They're protected through this like aura of basically a spell. So like no bad things can even really come in. The sheets look very soft. All the pillows look wonderful. There don't seem to be doors, which I do think could be a problem. But if you're sort of separated away from people, then it's fine. But you know, on a honeymoon, like doors and walls seem important. You want your privacy. And you may not have that in Rivendell. But there's also probably only like 16 people living there. If you go off of the movie, everyone else seems to be a traveler, a tourist. But in the world of Middle-earth, it's where the tourists go. So that's where I want to go.
I mean, it is gorgeous. I feel like it has of the things you described to me about Kanto region. It's got mountains. It's got all the beauty. It basically to me seems like going to a spa for your honeymoon, which I like, and that could very well be a part of our honeymoon experience. My one gripe, at least based on I guess this is mostly from the movies, I get the sense that the elves are not super thrilled to have you there unless, I don't know, Gandalf has convinced them, or I don't think the service would be exceptional, which is fine.
Elves are very, like, coded as xenophobes. Not kidding. Like, it's a very real thing. So I think that's an interesting point to make. Like, they're not often being visited by hobbits and wizards and men and stuff, but
like, which is could be fine because again, like what I think best case scenario, it ends up with like you have a very private experience where no one really talks to you. But I feel like it could also be on the other side where they just are making you feel weird for being there the whole time.
They're like, so how long were you playing? The whole week. Wow. Okay. Well, we've got other things happening, so we'll just try and move around you, I guess. Yeah, it does seem like it could be that. Pat, what do you think?
I am going to officially cast my vote for Rivendell. The tiebreaker being the food, because it's gonna be tough for me to eat a Pokemon. And if you read like the feast, like the passage in Fellowship about like the feast they have when they're there, just really succulent stuff. So Rivendell for the eats for me.
Yeah. Lisa, do you have an official vote here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Rivendell as well. I think it's gonna be a clean sweep.
Nice. The clean sweep. All right. Moving on. We have the Casino from Casino Royale, which is a Pat Stegemoeller original that he texted me had to be on the list, versus Hogwarts. These are very similar, right? Both places with gambling, debauchery, both places that aren't great to stay at. They seem sort of unsafe. I don't know. Pat, what makes you think the Casino from Casino Royale would be fun?
Gambling is very cool.
Huge.
Luxury.
Big endorsement here on this show.
It's a very luxurious place. Everyone is like dressed up, looking great. You know, it feels like it would be a place where you could go and just you could be another person for a week. You know what I mean? Like, we're on our honeymoon and we are, you know, like leaving the drab versions of ourselves.
Yeah,
behind.
Lauren and I call it cosplaying as rich people. We do it occasionally, where we're like, oh, we're gonna go to a nice theater, and you're gonna wear a ball gown dress, and I'm gonna wear a suit and tie, and we're gonna pretend that this is just a regular Tuesday for us, baby. Yeah, everybody's doing that there.
And it seems like the kind of place where, you know, if you go to a casino, usually your drinks are free while you're gambling, because you're losing so much money that they can every hour give you a room temp Corona. I feel like this would be the kind of place where everything might be free, because everyone there is such a high roller that they're just kind of assuming that you're laying down 50 grand hands of Baccarat. So you can go up to the bar while you're observing, you know, the high stakes poker game and just order that martini shaken or stirred or however you want it. And it's all comped, you know, because it would be like rude for them to expect you to pay at a place like this.
Obviously.
And also there's like cool spy shit going on, you know, which has some drawbacks.
I was going to say, do you have a sense that if you were getting on the elevator and you accidentally bumped into somebody, like, you know, shoulder to shoulder, be like, oops, I'm so sorry. Do you have a sense that that might kill you? That he might be so offended that he sends 3 nameless henchmen to your room at night and you don't wake up the next morning? That's what sort of scares me.
Yeah, that's a drawback. But let's talk about Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Hogwarts. For danger? For potential safety concerns?
Hey, no safer place than Hogwarts.
It just can't be true. There's just so much danger in this school.
Place.
There's like forbidden animals that are barely, you know, tied to a tree, I guess, that are just sort of running around. There's literal classes where they teach you how to kill other students. Like, it doesn't seem that their one sport is played 300 feet off the ground. It doesn't seem like a safe place.
Although watching a Quidditch match would be a great thing to do on a honeymoon. We were trying to actually watch a sporting match while we are in Portugal, and I don't think it's going to happen.
What were you going to go to?
It would have sporting versus somebody. I don't remember, but
I've heard those games are violent, man. That sounds fun.
See, not that different.
They do it way different over there.
Same.
There's still a chance because the Portuguese league is weird and doesn't announce the actual time the games are being played until like 2 weeks beforehand, maybe because of the violence.
They want to keep things on ice for a bit.
Yeah, so there's still a chance that if the game is like late enough, it will coincide with us getting back to Lisbon on sort of the back end of the trip, and then we'd be able to go, but we'll see. But to Hogwarts, I think Hogwarts is the first of the places that we've looked at right now that's starting to veer into, wait, this is actually a very odd choice for a person to make, because it's a school full of children.
Yeah.
So imagine they're on summer break.
Oh. Well, that's quite a stipulation you've thrown in there. I mean, do they go? I guess they do go home for summer break. Some of them don't.
Maybe that's what they do during the summer to like pay the bills. It becomes like an opulent.
It's an Airbnb
vacation destination.
It's a series of Airbnbs. Okay, but are there any rooms with just one bed in them? I mean, it seems like everybody has a bunk.
I feel like Dumbledore's office, like the whole Dumbledore's office area, the astronomy tower, that feels like I would Airbnb that section.
It's very private. You have to speak a very unique phrase to a statue to be able to get up there. So
privacy.
That's about as
That
good as
is
locks
kind
can
of
get.
a nice honeymoon sort of like.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother with the moving staircases. I'm just going to like take a ride with Buckbeak or do the Thestrals? The Thestrals don't fly. Take a ride with somebody to.
They do fly.
They
Fly them to London
That's
to
so right.
get to the ministry.
Right. That's a sidebar
totally
that you
forgot
can
about
cut from this is this is the second erroneous Thestral thing that I have done in relation to this podcast, which is incredibly specific.
It's very weird that happened
Yeah,
twice.
because I was the one in the comments about I think it was the Harry Potter Zoo being like the
I do remember that.
Thestrals. I don't even remember what it was. Please do cut this.
Well, didn't we say on the podcast you can only see them when you've seen somebody die?
Oh,
right?
yes.
Isn't
And I
that
was
the-
like, how broad can you make that interpretation? And I think everyone in the chat was very kindly like, no, I think like you need to have seen someone die in front of
like you can't just have watched an episode of ER.
Yeah.
and
or,
be like,
or you
oh,
can't
cool, I
have
can
like
see
a dead
Thestrals now.
person in your life who was close to you. It has to be witnessed.
Got it.
But people were very nice.
Yeah.
So I was very prepared to come on to, give a review of the podcast and be like, actually a great Discord community. Very kindly. Unlike most of the internet.
Very nice. Can I
Lisa
say
already
too nice?
sucking up for votes.
Please
Already.
vote for me.
Too nice of a Discord. Too nice of a Discord. You guys got to lay into each other a little bit better.
So here's I think some connective tissue between the Casino Royale casino and Hogwarts. Particularly again on a honeymoon, you want a little privacy in the bedroom. There's a chance the Casino Royale casino could be bugged because of spy stuff going on. There's a near
Always.
goddamn guarantee that there's going to be some portraits watching you fuck in Hogwarts.
Are you into that though? I mean, it's a legitimate question.
That's up
Everybody's
for
gonna
each
have
of
to
us to
decide
decide
for
with our
themselves. Okay, food, Patrick. Food.
I mean, boy, in terms of just having food available to you whenever, just having like indentured servant labor just cranking away 24/7 like at Hogwarts and having those giant feasts sounds pretty nice.
I feel like
do
that could
feel like
also
the food
apply
at the
to the
Casino
casino.
Royale.
I couldn't tell where you were going.
I think the food is going to be great at both. I think Casino Royale food is going to be a little more like, nouveau
Exotic.
cuisine kind of. And
We,
the Hogwarts
we
food is a
murdered
little
the
bit more-
last great white shark so that you could eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, more like that. I don't trust the English and their food. I know it looks good on TV, but there's going to be a lot of biscuit, beans, and toast kind of situation. And I don't trust that they're going to have a good variety. It's also like they're making food for just thousands of people.
It's
The
cafeteria
quality
food.
it does take a hit at some point. Like Casino Royale, like somebody has handcrafted this weird, crab made out of gold caviar and, the blood of your enemies. And like, that just sounds like a much more unique experience. Probably wouldn't taste as good, but
All right. I feel ready to vote. I think I'm going to go with the Casino Royale casino.
I mean, I feel very unsafe at both of these locations. I don't feel like I'm making it back from either. I'm going to go, if I'm taking Lisa's logic here, that the kids are on summer break, I feel like Hogwarts might have some activities that could be fun, like go learn basic or watch like a basic magic demonstration, because God knows I can't do it right. So I think I'm gonna go Hogwarts and let Lisa break the tie.
I don't know. If it's summer break, I think all the teachers are gone too. Maybe Hagrid's around.
So are you just walking in empty?
You can hang out with
empty rooms?
Hagrid. I'm gonna shock myself. I was really coming into this particular matchup very prepared to fight for Hogwarts, but I think I've been talked out of it, honestly.
Wow.
I really, it's either an empty castle or a castle full of kids. I don't think there's actually that much magic stuff going on, and the magic stuff we can guarantee is the weirdest part. The part of maybe the portraits watching you have sex. So, and I don't think there will be any
All
Quidditch,
that,
because again,
yep.
summer break, unless, the stadium's not in use, maybe the professional teams come play over the summer. I don't know. I don't know what the season is like. But I think, I don't know, communal bathrooms, unless you get to use the prefix bathroom, because again, everybody's gone for the summer. The prefix bathroom is really sick.
I think you get the prefix bathroom.
Yeah, but I think you're going to get a bathroom that good at the Montenegro Casino from Casino Royale. So I think I have to go with the casino. Mostly for hotel quality.
I loved hearing that entire just like logical stream of consciousness that I wish I had, the ability to do that. Okay. Moving on. King's Landing versus Westworld. Talk about places where we don't feel super safe. Now, I want to clarify here. For both of these, I think it's fair to talk season 1, episode 1 for both of these locations.
Pre-destruction.
Crucial.
Yes, I think it is a crucial asterisk for both of them, frankly. I think everybody should be aware by now of what happens to King's Landing at the end there. So it's pre-that. And then Westworld, season 1, episode 1, creates a really interesting dynamic. Do people know the show Westworld? I put that on here sort of thinking it was pretty popular. Enough people knew what it was.
I think it was.
We watched it.
Not Game of Thrones popular, but I think everyone at least like heard about it and gets the premise of like, oh, it's the old West place where you get to kill and fuck robots.
Yeah, HBO show, dystopia type thing where you are able to basically control a theme park with your, grand design of what the thing is you want to experience. Yeah, so you go into a Wild West house and everybody there, you're like the main character, basically. It's a lot of main character-ness going on. So I'm sort of thinking for a honeymoon, you could craft a pretty interesting experience doing that. And are you going to have to interact with people? Nope. No people there. It just seems pretty cool until it all starts going horribly bad. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's a great point. I was very ready to put Westworld at like almost the bottom. Almost. There's one on here that is a truly insane choice. But I was ready to put Westworld basically down with that. But your point of it's all robots, so you don't have to feel a little weird about like there's a maid coming in here every day and like I don't love that.
Oops, somebody accidentally walked in on us. Like they don't have well, the show does grapple with whether or not they have feelings and agency, but you
this is
don't
episode 1. This is before they
you don't have to start thinking about that.
Right. Yeah. Which is a strong argument. I mean you could go to Westworld and just not do all of the heinous things that people do.
Right. You could just experience the world of the Wild West.
We could basically just go like get a room at the saloon, go drink at the bar, listen to some funky Wild West tunes.
Funky. Let's get funky, piano man.
Player piano. Ride some horses into the like beautiful scenic desert. So you could just do that, and it would be pretty nice. I don't think it's true that you'd be the only one in the park unless you bought it out. I'm fairly certain that there's like maybe as many as like 10 wealthy human individuals in the park at a time.
Do you guys remember if there's a way to identify the humans from the robots? Because then it would be constant anxiety of, oh, was that person who walked in on us last night, were they another guest or were they a robot? And can I ask, is that rude?
I don't remember.
Not without stabbing.
But they definitely were other humans
Not
in the park
stabbing.
at the same time.
Just stab everybody.
Just to be safe.
Knives out.
Westworld.
So on the one hand, I will say, so our runner-up honeymoon destination was New Mexico. That was, which sounded great for some of the reasons Lisa laid out there, which is it can be kind of like peaceful. It's beautiful scenery. Like sunsets, sunrises, you're out under the stars. You can just chill out. There's amazing food in New Mexico. Shout out Charlie Eisenhood, who's I feel like is the sort of like food like guest.
It's the only person I've ever met that's actually from New Mexico. So that reference makes total sense to me.
But here's the thing: New Mexico in 2024 is very different than New Mexico in like 1883. Or whenever the Westworld timeline is sort of based in. And boy, the Old West was like a kind of bleak, dreary place. So if you're not there to like hold up banks and, like try to, murder a stagecoach driver, I'm not totally sure what you're getting out of.
How much enjoyment you'd have.
Yeah. Whereas King's Landing, I mean, the rich people in King's Landing you know, I mean, some bad stuff happens to them from time to time, but they've got like Dornish wine seems pretty good. It's beautiful. You know, it's basically Dubrovnik. Like I think a nicer. There's certainly a rustic beauty to the American West, but King's Landing is, you know, a very gorgeous place right by the water. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna go with King's Landing.
Oof. Lisa, are you leaning a particular way here?
I mean, King's Landing is just like a nice European city, and feels
like pre-plumbing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like it's a very early
nice
European city. So like there's
European
lots of rats.
But there's rats.
Probably doesn't smell.
There's rats in
good.
Westworld too. It also is not going to smell that great in Westworld.
Good point.
Can I hack this and say, can I escape if I want to from Westworld to Samurai World or one of the other
One of the future seasons.
Yeah, spoiler. We're not. I know we're season 1, episode 1, but
good point. Do you get like all the variations of Westworld? I'm gonna say
no. We're in Westworld. Okay. I think I want to. I feel like we have been to Dubrovnik, humble brag. But I feel like
guys.
I've been to, you know, I feel like I've been to King's Landing. I feel like I want to go to Westworld. I can really create my own experience. I think I would probably end up regretting it because the knowledge that everyone is a robot would be real bizarro. But I'm gonna go Westworld. I'm thinking it's gonna be nice sunset. It's gonna be great.
Fiance wants to bang robot on honeymoon. All right.
Hey, if you okay,
Got it.
Getting that.
I'm just throwing this out there.
Crafted, curated experience.
We've talked about, you know, everybody having their, you know, getting to use their honeymoon to explore whatever like fun sexual things
to
you
explore
want to do.
weird alive portraits.
If you,
watching
you know,
them.
if you want to have a throuple on your honeymoon, I feel like that's probably the best place to do it.
There is no less stress situation you're ever gonna find to do that in your life.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So celebrate.
I'm going Westworld.
Yes, let's go.
Wow.
I'm fully convinced.
Wow.
It's just like fully like listen, in the universe, the billionaires go there. Like it is the most curated exclusive experience.
Yeah, like the Kendall Roys of the world go there because they are incapable of like happiness and love. So they're like,
They
I
want to
have
feel
to go.
something. So do I. All right, that's Westworld. Okay. Oh God, here's.
Why did these end up together? This is like a roast.
I don't know. It was random. It was random seating, but this is weirdly coincidental. We have Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, and Neverland. Now, I think we assume that like there are sort of rooms inside Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. I think like sort of like themed rooms, sort of that you're staying at like Disney World, basically, where it's like a themed room that's sort of away from some of the park, so to speak. But Pat, were either of these two the one that you said were like absolutely bottom tier, or have we still not gotten there yet?
Somehow we have still not gotten there. Although
I thought it
both
would be
are-
one of these two.
Both are very strange choices. I think Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, because it is sort of a Disney World. It's like a dark, unsettling Disney World. You can kind of get maybe, and I'm like, you get great chocolate. You know, like if you're like real chocolate freaks, I could see that being a thing. Again, a prevalence for there's children around is really a lot of these options.
Yeah.
But nowhere is that more unsettling than in Neverland, where it's just a place that is literally just children and pirates and mermaids and Native Americans and
we don't talk
a
about that.
crocodile.
Okay. What do we need to decide what Wonka we want here?
I'm assuming
gonna help
Gene
the
Wilder.
conversation?
Like,
I was thinking so too.
yeah.
To me, it
Not
doesn't
not
matter.
the OOG, right? He's like the second one. Haven't there been four Wonkas?
Gene Wilder was the first. I think Johnny Depp was
He was
2,
the first? Oh, okay.
and then we have Timmy Chalamet.
Timothée Chalamet doing
Young Wonks.
like clearly just lost a bet, and that's why he had to do that movie, I guess.
So bizarre.
But yeah, we'll go Gene Wilder, which doesn't have only pros, that choice, because he is sort of creepy in that movie in an excellent way, and a lot of the children die. So
They don't die.
I don't know, but
They're irreparably changed.
Big difference. You're right. Absolutely. I mean, I feel like if you're just a little bit more careful than those irreparably changed children, then you'll probably be fine in Willy Wonka's factory. Both of these seem like horrific choices to me. I really have no idea which one to do.
Okay, here, devil's advocate. Here's the defense of Neverland.
Okay. Did you start that sentence and not have an end?
There's some beautiful natural settings, right? There's like cool lagoons, and stuff. There don't appear to be cops, so it's got a Westworldy quality in that sense.
That means you're the cop.
You can maybe fly. You can potentially fly if you get some of that Tinkerbell dust.
Wow, that's actually the best. That's the best pitch by far. For
which
Neverland.
I feel like if you're you have to fly to get to Neverland, which is again like a transportation nightmare. But let's say that you know Tinkerbell comes and gives you some dust, and you can fly there.
Isn't there also some sort of belief that you have to like capture your childhood whimsy, right? So to be able to fly, you have to like think the happiest thought or whatever it is. And I would wonder, Pat, for you and I, as the really nervous flyers, if we weren't also going to feel like, oh God, what if I accidentally lose this very happy thought and I die?
You boys aren't getting off the ground. I'm so sorry.
Maybe not. I think we've seen too much.
I do think if you want to fly, you can do that at Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. If we're going Gene Wilder version, he's got the like, I forget what you actually consumed, but basically the bubbles and you're like burping and you like float.
Right.
And then there's the Great Glass Elevator, which flies around. So it's not human flight, but there's ways to float around.
You're also just in London.
Yep. You could go see some things in London. There's a small chance, very small, that you might just get the factory at the end of the honeymoon.
Right.
He's going to pick somebody.
Wait,
why not you?
Are you going on your honeymoon with like 4 other
You got
couples?
the golden ticket for your honeymoon.
Yeah, you got the golden ticket. And because let's be real, these children can't run the factory. Like they're going to want 2 adults who can do it.
They have no business experience.
No.
The Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory has a lot of good experiences in it.
Yeah, and I feel like we haven't.
It's like curated for here. Try this little doodad. It's gonna make you feel like a big blueberry. I think that's gonna end up being my vote, just because I feel like there's probably more to do, more to excite you.
Yeah, same. I think that both of these get slaughtered in the next round, anyways.
Probably.
So I'm not stressing too much about it. And maybe there's some horrible downside. Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory is like a more unsettling place in some ways than Neverland. Neverland's just weird because of all the kids. But there's still kids at the factory. There's Oompa Loompas. I hate both of these, but I'm gonna vote Wonka.
Yeah, I sort of agree. It's gonna get slaughtered. Lisa, do you want to give a meaningless vote to Neverland, or is this a clean sweep?
Wow, why am I even here?
I ask that all the time.
No, I'd like to give my vote intentionally to Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. I feel like the safest thing is just being like, there are people who do the Disneyland honeymoon. None of us are doing that. But if you want to do that, that is that.
It has been done.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, I think we're upgrading a little bit here from the last matchup.
Sure.
We have Pandora from the Avatar universe and Wakanda. Now, let's think about this, too. Pre-war for both of them?
Yeah, for sure.
Probably?
Of course.
Yes. Cool. Yeah, so you're going to Pandora as not the military version of the humans, but the good version of the humans. I understand very little about the Avatar universe, but you guys catch my drift. And then you're going to Wakanda as like a tourist, which is great. So pre-climax of the films. This
is a very good question, though, because I do think Pandora does seem a lot more enjoyable if you're in an Avatar's body, because then you can fly on the things.
Very interesting.
So actually, curious for both of your thoughts on if you like to assume that you're going in as your human self, or if to experience it you would really have to do the Avatar thing, and if that would be weird for your honeymoon.
It doesn't seem like you could go if you weren't in the Avatar. Like, you'd have to wear like an oxygen mask the whole time. It seems like that's why you would go, is to do the Avatar thing.
Yeah, I think you get to be a Na'vi if you're on Pandora. But in both of these cases, we'd be having to confront some certain like colonial tourism, behavior. So, but I think you do get to be a Na'vi in Pandora for sure. Like you're paying for like the full boat. You get to customize your Na'vi, and you're there, and you're flying the thing if you can, and you're running around on all the giant plants. And Wakanda, you're just there, I guess.
Just seems like a cool city. Okay, Pat, do you feel more or less safe about the dragons with wings than you do actual human planes?
More.
I think I feel more safe.
I have some aspect of control.
Yeah. This thing isn't going to let itself fall. Things. This thing knows how to fly.
Exactly.
It was made to fly. I understand.
And then you'll also understand
I feel way better
when you do your little hair connection.
When I do my braid intercourse, absolutely.
I think Wakanda has a lot going for it as well, though. Futuristic society, again, like fairly close to utopia, similar to Kanto region, except I don't think I'm eating something that says its own name over and over again.
You don't know for sure.
Right. I have to imagine that they have like the Sphere in Vegas that just opened up, which is one of like the first good new things we have. Like
sure.
It's like the last good thing America will ever do is like our society has reached the point where it has the Sphere. I have to imagine that Wakanda has some cool shit like that.
Oh yeah.
Going on. I think here's where I come down on this is Wakanda is a better place for a honeymoon and Pandora is a better place for like a 10-year anniversary where you're like, we want to take things to the next level. Things have gotten a little stale. What if we
changed bodies?
Giant 8-foot blue bodies and we wrapped our tails up together.
There is absolutely some fanfic about this.
I'd feel weird doing either, but I think I would go Wakanda for the honeymoon itself. It's also easier to get to. It's on Earth.
In theory.
It's true. It's on Earth.
Well, yeah.
It's here. Yeah, theoretically it is, sure. I mean, I'm going to say Pandora. I think the experience of like being the 8-foot little Na'vi people, just like running around like you're just an unbelievable athlete, just swinging from stuff, and like the animals are crazy, and I don't know, like if the assumption is that we're going to be welcome at either of these places, then I think Pandora is like it's a more unique experience. Like Wakanda is a very, very cool city.
Pandora
like, I'm still
also
me.
maybe more.
Still me.
Maybe
I'm bringing
more
all of my baggage. Pandora. I mean, the islands are floating in the sky. There's waterfalls. There's things like that. The like accommodations maybe, almost certainly not as good.
A little rustic.
You're sleeping in a tree that just sort of happened to grow into a hammock for some reason, something like that. Whereas Wakanda, I'm sure, has just like glorious hotels. But I'm sticking with Pandora.
I really think I'm sticking on what Patrick said. I think that Pandora could be a potentially more interesting trip. I think for a honeymoon specifically, I would definitely go with Wakanda. I mean, it's just I also really enjoy urban design, and I think Wakanda is just beautifully designed. You get to enjoy just being in a beautiful city, which, I mean, 1-to-1, Pandora also a beautiful place, but you get to enjoy the height of culture in every way, shape, and form. They presumably have the best cuisine. I bet there's great shopping. I bet there's like really good spas.
Your voice changed so quickly.
I bet the museums are good if you wanted to do a museum on your honeymoon. I bet there's like a beautiful rooftop wine bar where you can see the whole city.
God, yeah.
And it would just be such
They don't have that in Pandora.
No, I bet the public transit's also... I forget how much they show the public transit, but just I feel like...
There's like sky rails. There's like trains.
Everything about getting around and being there just blows your mind, and it's beautiful. So I think it's a perfect honeymoon destination.
It also, importantly, for a honeymoon, has doors and walls, which again is coming up here.
And probably
this
some
bracket.
great noise canceling tech.
Yes. Pandora, no privacy. You are one with Yahweh, and it's rough.
Yeah.
But again,
Wait,
for your
is the tree
10-year...
god really called Yahweh?
I thought it was Yahweh, or did
I
I
think
just
that's a
did I
different
just
thing.
co-opt an actual religious figure
Yahweh
and
is-
pretend it was fictional?
Yahweh's like what we call
Yahweh's-
God, like here on Earth in some
Here
religion.
for hold on.
Is it like Iwa or something? It's definitely close to Yahweh because
It's
everything
close to Yahweh.
visionary sci-fi director James Cameron does is take a thing you recognize and just put lungs on the outside of it or just shift some letters around.
It's something.
Ewa.
Ewa.
It's literally an anagram for Yahweh. So I feel like, dear listeners, I can be forgiven for misunderstanding because it's literally the same letters shifted around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, James Cameron, your genius never ceases to amaze. All right. Wonderland, from, of course, Alice in Wonderland, versus Atlantis. For me, this is the fastest matchup on the board.
Yeah.
Same.
Wonderland is what I was saying is the clear bottom
Okay.
one here. Like, you should not be getting married to someone who wants to go to Wonderland on their honeymoon. Like, I would
unhinged.
immediately disengage a person who even suggested that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I mean, like, I hate to be so quick with it, but there's nothing else we need to say. It just feels bad. Feels like just a really bad trip.
Well, that's the
No, literally.
trip. That is...
Yeah.
It's a bad trip. That's the
I think-
that's
Yes.
what it is.
That's like the
It's
only
like-
people I think who would enjoy that are people who already do a lot of drugs and were like, we want to go on the literal and figurative trip of a lifetime by going to Wonderland.
Yes. We want to do this for
That's
real.
not my approach, probably.
Cool.
I'm gonna take the
Write that down, Pat.
Does
No bad
want
trip.
to fuck robots. Does not want to do drugs.
Does not want to
like
have the
that.
hallucinations become real.
Yeah, not like that.
The hallucinations should not be able to touch her.
Yes. That's,
Okay, cool. Atlantis moves on. I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next round, including, I'm going to plug this into your brains right now, which version of Atlantis we're talking about. But for now, moving on. We have our second Lord of the Rings location because I am who I am. The Shire versus Jurassic Park. Obviously, this is Jurassic Park while it's functional. This is Jurassic Park as
really functional.
the first 45 minutes of the movie. You've got...
I feel like you have some.
You got, what's her name? Laura Dern getting her head turned around and seeing a Bronchiosaurus. Like, end there. Like, it's like, literally, like, right there is pretty much where you
Also,
stop.
I haven't seen the sequels, but I'm pretty sure that it's like a functional park that guests are going to.
Yeah, I mean, we could include sort of like Jurassic World, although I think sort of like part of the allure of Jurassic Park is like nobody has been there yet. But we can upgrade it to Jurassic World, which is much more like theme park-y.
I think we're going to Jurassic Park, and we're going during a point in time when it's a
That's
functional
fine. I'll accept
dinosaur.
that.
Yeah,
theme
like I
park.
said, like the 45 minutes before it happens
Yeah.
to break. Yeah.
That
This
part.
is, yes, that part. This is incredibly difficult for me. I feel like this could be like a Final Four or a Finals matchup. This is a big struggle. I mean, there was a short consideration where my wife considered us actually going to New Zealand for our honeymoon and visiting the Shire. So like this was like very nearly an actual choice. So it's just, but Jurassic Park is done. Okay, I don't know. I need one of you guys.
This is
to-
very easy for me, and the answer is the Shire. Dinosaurs are dead for a reason. I don't need them. They're gone.
Whoa!
Whoa! They earned it.
What?
They deserved it.
They brought that,
Hot
they brought that
take.
meter on themselves.
They shouldn't have been touching themselves at night. God did this.
Okay, but I guess in all seriousness, it is the actual park itself is a fine park, and it's basically like going on a game drive that lasts, I guess, a week, and maybe it's cool to see dinosaurs for the first day or so.
You are so underselling this right now. Maybe it's cool to see dinosaurs. What?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
I can also see elephants. They're also big and majestic. They're not in the Shire, to be fair, but I don't know.
Oliphant.
I don't think I want this to be my honeymoon experience. The Shire seems much better suited for a honeymoon experience, for like coziness, privacy, like just being in a Shire home seems so lovely. Incredible service and people experience in the Shire for sure. You got good play. I bet there's like a great craft beer scene. It seems like they're drinking.
They are the Shire. The Shire folk are pretty provincial, though.
It's simple.
They're definitely a little
I mean,
distrustful of like tall folk and outsiders.
Man.
Now, maybe not as distrustful as a dinosaur.
no.
Very distrustful. Wants to eat. Highest form of distrust.
Yeah.
I keep sort of like leaving the honeymoon space here, but as you guys continue to remind me of it, I'm sort of brought back into, the Shire probably seems like a better honeymoon destination. Although, like, man, just like seeing dinosaurs.
It's not going to
How
get
do you
me
think
in the
the
mood.
amenities are at Jurassic Park? Like, do we think that they have like really good suites?
They have a full kitchen, which we see in the original film. It's a little messy. They've clear. It's an island, so they've clearly got like strong places to stay for extended periods, because you're not going to come there for like a 3-day weekend, right? You're staying there for a while.
Yeah.
Do we think, even while it was working, there'd be some anxiety that it was going to suddenly not be working? I mean, would you... Okay, here's my question, friends. Would you go to, like, Central Africa and stay in a resort that was, like, in the middle of basically, like, predators with no, like, fence? You know what I mean? Like, you would stay, like, in the natural habitat. And you're, like, elevated off the ground, but, like, that's basically it.
They
That's
don't-
not
they
what
don't
Jurassic,
do that.
Like Jurassic Park, there definitely are fences. Like, we're assuming that it's a functional park here. I mean,
I'm
I
fine
think
just saying-
keep in the back of your mind there's a certain anxiety.
Yeah, because it's like, man, that's a thin fence. And that's a big boy. Yeah, so...
But I think, yes, I think I would do that.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys have any votes yet?
I think you know where I'm going.
I know. Patrick.
I wanted you to vote first because I'm not sure.
I need you to keep me from having...
This is
that
actually
position.
shocking.
I mean,
like the two Lord of the Rings boys are not immediately voting for the Shire. I'm shocked.
this was one of the only ones that actually made it a fair fight. But I do think I'm going to have to vote for the Shire. I think as like a honeymoon experience, if you consider that like you are welcomed into the town, then like, yes, it would be great. It'd be incredibly relaxing. The views unmatched, great hiking, and just super cozy. Just fires going, people drinking, telling tales. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I ultimately will vote for the Shire as well. I think Jurassic Park, it would be too much about the dinosaurs.
Not
You
enough
know?
about me.
Not enough about
Yep.
me. Yeah, I think that's kind of...
Also,
Yeah.
there will be kids there. I think more kids than in the Shire. The Shire, there's a lot
Good
of
point.
drinking. The Shire feels like it might be an 18-plus town. Like, kids love dinosaurs. Kids are going to be at Jurassic Park. It might end up feeling a little... I mean, I feel like that's also the movie. It feels a little Disney World-y. But again, I'm not really interested in doing the Disney World honeymoon thing, even if it's better Disney World with dinosaurs.
Yeah. All right. For our last matchup of round one here, we have Tatooine versus Narnia. Now, you guys talk ease of access. Narnia, tough to beat. Don't gotta get on a plane. Although, are we sort of thinking it's that one closet, it's the one wardrobe that works? So I guess you do have to get on a
somewhere
plane
in
to go to
rural
it.
England.
There's actually a
Yeah.
bunch of ways to get to Narnia in the other books.
Oh, wow. Do tell, reader.
The wardrobe was made from one of the trees from like the very like birth of
did not
Narnia.
know
That's in
that.
The Magician's Nephew. So yeah, that's why it's basically magical wood. So
That actually had actually been bothering me and never been explained to me, so that makes complete sense now. Okay. I mean, Tatooine was tough. I wanted to include a place from Star Wars here. I was sort of bouncing around Naboo or Tatooine, or probably not Mustafar. It does not seem super romantic. I couldn't quite figure out what to put here. And I think part of the problem here is like just one location from Star Wars is never going to be like, wow. Like this place is just sand. Great band though. One song. But they crush it.
Tatooine has a thriving gambling underbelly. So if like the gambling part of Casino Royale was something you're into, the Hutts, you know, they run a pretty seedy network of establishments. Blue milk. You can drink that blue milk.
Yep.
Yeah. Spaceships.
There's space stuff. Like if you're assuming you're like in our background, like the three of us, I'm joining on this honeymoon now. The three of us are all going to go to Tatooine. Like you are going to be pretty flabbergasted just by stuff that is around that we've never seen like a full blown alien. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
They almost all are. So
I feel like
it's Narnia. There's no.
Yeah.
I'm not even.
Tatooine.
I'm trying to sell it.
Tatooine is gross.
Yeah.
when Patrick and I were talking about this earlier, I was like, oh, this is actually just slightly easier to live on, but worse Arrakis.
It's Arrakis with buildings.
Yeah.
More buildings. Yeah.
And less sweet spice.
Yeah. That's that would be a nice bit.
The spice must flow. Did you guys see the new Dune movie?
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
How have you managed to think about other things in your life besides the new Dune movie since seeing it? I can't stop thinking about the Dune movie. I'm having a hard time concentrating at work. Because every time I correctly type in my password for the first time, I just go, Lisa Nagaib. And I just can't think of anything else.
Yeah, it's...
All right, well, this is a Narnia clean sweep, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I thought about trying to get a last-minute Arrakis in here, but there's just no discussion that would be terrible.
Caledon would be sick. And actually, the other Star Wars suggestion I would have is, what's the like fancy casino planet?
Oh,
the one they go to do their very heavy-handed critique of capitalism.
Yeah, that one.
Where they race horses. Yeah. I don't remember what it's called because I try and forget that movie every day.
Doesn't it show up in Andor?
Maybe Endor would be the Star Wars locale.
Ooh, just the woods with like cool tree houses. People pay a lot of money to go to Airbnbs that look like that.
That's so true.
Yeah.
All right, well, as it stands, it's Tatooine and it's a clean sweep. That is going to do it for round one. We are going to take a quick break. We will see you back for the final 8.
Guys, it's that time of year again. It's March Draftness. We've got brand new March Draftness merch in the shop, all inspired by your favorite college basketball teams. We hope you'll like it. If you do have a favorite team that's not represented yet, let us know. We'd be happy to make some for you. So yeah, check out the shop. Link in the show notes. Happy March Madness. Happy March Draftness. And thanks so much for all your support with all of our merch. It means a lot.
Okay, we are getting into the real nitty-gritty now. Starting off with Rivendell versus the casino from Casino Royale. Vibes could not be more different here. I don't think Rivendell allows gambling. I think they would expel you from the town. Obviously, at the Casino Royale, it's worth it. I feel weird saying it. Do we know what it's called? Do we know what this particular casino is called?
It's called Casino Royale.
Oh, okay. Then I'm just going to refer to it as Casino. The Casino Royale? Yeah, sure. That place. I don't know. This I think would vary from couple to couple of what kind of vibe they're shooting for.
This is tricky, yeah, because I think there is something about the glitz and the glamour and the sexiness of Casino Royale that is appealing for a honeymoon setting. And when I think about Rivendell, I just kind of think about, Bilbo going off to retire there and being like, it might kind of feel like you're at a retirement city.
Like an old folks home.
Yeah. Like it's just...
I mean, everybody there is thousands of years old. So it makes a lot of sense.
Like, I don't know if I want to go on my honeymoon somewhere that feels like spring break, but it might feel a little bit like it's Florida. I don't know.
Ooh. The Florida of Middle Earth.
Wait, Florida is not spring break?
Oh, it's actually, I guess it's both. It's both ends of the spectrum. Spring break
Nobody in Florida between the ages of 25 and 68. Pick one. I mean, for a honeymoon, it just seems hard to pass up Rivendell. It just seems so relaxing. The food seems excellent. Everything just seems so well made. I guess the critique you could have is is there a lot to do? It's on water.
Well, there's a waterfall because there's so the big river, of course, as we all know, surrounds Rivendell.
I knew that for sure.
Hence the name.
Yeah, that can be a small trickle of a stream, or it can be a raging tide, depending on the mood of the closest elf.
Enough to maybe knock the Nazgul clean off their horse, some would say.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say Rivendell's a little austere to me, in some senses. It's like you're walking around a lot of empty hallways full of old stuff, and I feel like if you you might be critiqued potentially for making noises in the wrong place. Which is also true of Casino Royale. There's it's definitely both are upper crust options. There's a lot of social codes you might accidentally violate, and people will think you were raised in a barn. So yeah, it is. I do feel like Rivendell is the more relaxing option, and the Casino Royale is a little more action adventurous, where spinning a roulette wheel and drinking martinis, and wow, that guy just got defibrillated back to life after getting poisoned.
Cool.
Whereas Rivendell has a little bit of a more the UN Security Council is meeting here, so it's cool that you're relaxing, just keep it down.
Yeah, I think Lisa nailed it with basically saying it's a spa. Because in the spa, you're not supposed to make considerable amounts of noise, but when you're there, you're sort of grateful that everybody else has to follow that rule too. You're like, oh, okay, we're all gonna share this space together, so we're all gonna be super quiet and super respectful of each other's sort of personal space and stuff. There's something to that, I think.
I would imagine that the Casino Royale Casino literally has a spa in it.
It probably does. We don't see, though. So we're not sure. And also, there's definitely a dead body in it.
Do you think elves give good massages?
Yeah.
I could see you going either way.
100%.
Again, thousands of years of experience here.
Also, I bet
there's no retirement age in the Elven Kingdom.
I bet you could get an elf to be outside your bungalow playing the harp.
Absolutely.
Or whatever the chosen instrument of.
I just think
they do have a love for music.
I think the music that plays when Rivendell comes on the screen in the movies is just playing.
Right, that's diegetic.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Speaking of real, I think what I'm running into now is that if Casino Royale continues to win, it can't win this bracket. That's a real place that exists in a real. I mean, it's fictionalized, but there's nothing about it that's fantastical. And I think part of the fun and excitement of these options is the extra of it all. And I think at this point,
there's nothing about it that's fantastical. There's nothing about an arms dealer deciding that the best way for him to get the $5 million that he owes back is to host a high stakes game of Texas Hold'em where his tell is that his eye bleeds sometimes.
I think there's something very fantastical about having enough money to even end up in a place like that. I'm like, wow, what have I fallen
Like, I've
into?
been to the woods. I don't think I've ever been into a room that smells as expensive as that Casino Royale casino.
I mean, I don't think getting into Rivendell as humans, they're going to be like, just come here. You're going to have to pay out your butt, for sure.
It's true. What is the flight even there like? What kind of dimensional portals are you having to travel through? Talk about turbulence.
I bet the
Well, I think
planes
it's a
are really
ship.
nice, though.
It's a ship to Middle Earth, for sure.
Yes.
We
Yep.
know that. It's like a ship to a carriage.
Yeah. It's a ship to Numenor, and then a ship to Rivendell? No. You'd have to make a couple more stops.
To like the Grey Havens, to like the
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
it's a carriage ride.
Yeah, which the Grey Havens is
Rivendell.
basically heaven, so that's a fun layover.
I mean, yeah, this is
Like,
all,
you're
this
basically
is all
in
gravy.
cool heaven.
Yeah, this
I-
is like a nice trip.
It's Rivendell for me. The idea of being in that environment of Casino Royale just gives me a lot of anxiety. All right, next in round 2, we have Westworld versus Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Pick your poison here, people.
Look, I was down on Westworld in round 1, but given this matchup, I'm going all the way the other direction, and just let's lean into it. Like, yes, we are the king and queen. All these robots are our serfs, and we will do with them as we see fit. Now, is this going to be good for the long-term health of your marriage and your relationship? Absolutely not. That's like Tom and Shiv in Succession, like, you know, agreeing to have like an open relationship.
Oh my
on their
god,
wedding
they
night.
would go to Westworld for sure.
This is what I'm saying. The people from Succession are the people who go
The Roys
to
made
Westworld.
Westworld.
Yeah.
They made it.
Still better than the Chocolate Factory, though.
Yeah.
I will say this. People who go to a theme park on their honeymoon have no imagination and are weirdos, which is ironic given the whole, like, it's a pure imagination. But come on. So I guess Westworld is also kind of a theme park. But
It's the
You
theme
use
park
your
that like
imagination.
breaks the other theme parks.
You can
Yeah.
murder people, so it's adult.
right.
That's the theme. Murder.
And I think try
Tell
my
me-
brain.
tell
This is
me
where are
wrong.
you going to run into the fewest children? And I feel like Westworld is one of those. So Westworld gets it for me.
Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, it's got to be Westworld.
Yeah. I think that's a
Chocolate
clean
Factory's
sweep.
kind of a non-starter.
It has some charm, but like, I feel like you could do it in an afternoon too. And how long are you really going to be there for? So Westworld, I feel like there's more potential.
Do you think someone in the comments is going to be like, you turned into the kind of adults that, you know, we said we were never going to be. Your sense of magic has just entirely disappeared. How dare
No.
you hate on the Chocolate Factory?
We
And-
just
No, I
voted
think-
Rivendell past the place with the gambling and the alcohol.
Yeah. And I think if people were honest with themselves, they would recognize that they really just want an excuse-free, debaucherous week pretty much at any point in their lives.
Wait, can I not drink in Rivendell?
No, you can. There's wine.
You can.
Okay. But it's like,
Is there wine?
Yeah.
Because elves are immune to the effects of alcohol for the most part.
But they have
So
it
why
for
would
their
they-
guests. During
Do
the
they?
feast. During the feast.
There's
in
wine during the
Fellowship,
feast.
There's wine there, yeah.
Okay,
and the
okay.
dwarves are drinking beer and
That
stuff.
almost just completely...
It might be like a
ruined.
BYOB situation.
or they could be, it could be like the monks that make green chartreuse, where it's like they're not drinking it, but they make it as a business product. Funds.
There are, in Mirkwood, there are barrels, because Bilbo rides out in the barrels. So the question
Mm-hmm.
would be barrels of what, if not wine?
There's nothing
So-
else that goes in a barrel.
Nothing. I can't. Except for it's wine and hobbits and dwarves. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that can go in barrels. All right.
I think it's that like they don't get drunk, but they still drink wine for the, you know,
For the taste of it,
tannin
gross.
or whatever.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, Wakanda versus Atlantis. Now
This is a good matchup.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. We have not really decided what Kingdom of Atlantis we're sort of thinking about here. Do you guys have a picture of just when I say Atlantis, like what comes into your head?
I am thinking a underwater civilization that is not like people who breathe air contained in like bubbles and stuff. It's like water breathing.
It's a different, like,
humanoid.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's where Aquaman is, basically.
Yes.
Because it's mer people. Why can't I shake just the image of Naboo? I just want to think about Naboo, the cool city that's got bubbles over it. But I think I'm also, for Atlantis, I'm thinking about that. They're not actually humans. The entire thing is underwater. So how do we rationalize the idea of being able to go there for your honeymoon?
I think that, I think it's either you've got like a breathing apparatus whenever you're like in water, and then there's like your room is, filled with oxygen or whatever, kind of like being on a cruise ship, but like actually underwater.
Interesting.
Or
like
it's some sort of like Hitchhiker's Guide type thing where there's like a certain fish you swallow that gives you like a week's
you
worth
eat
of,
that weird little root from Harry Potter, and you just sort of like grow gills for a bit.
Some gillyweed type situation.
Gillyweed, thank you. Oh, it's in the name. Okay, well, sorry. Lisa, are you leaning a particular way here? You were the one that sort of like gave me the most convincing argument on Wakanda.
I mean, we're now at a tale of two cities, and who's to say, which is the better or more interesting civilization? And I will say, I do not have a very clear picture of Atlantis in my head because I have never seen the animated movie, which is.
I mean, we could also make this Atlantis from Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever, where Atlantis
is true.
Like
they could just be in the
other
same
civilization
universe.
In that. We wanted to think
it's
about it.
It's pretty cool.
Way.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm surprised you didn't go with the Atlanteans deserve to die argument, considering what you did with the dinosaurs. So I'm amazed you're prescribing any value to Atlantis here at all. It's a lost city for a reason.
They deserve to go underwater.
Okay.
But then they adapted, unlike the dinosaurs.
That's true. And they deserve to survive.
The dinosaurs couldn't adapt to the, meteor or whatever. I think there are a lot of challenges to having to spend significant amounts of time underwater.
I think I'm biased away from Atlantis just because I don't even, personally, I'm not prioritizing beach for a honeymoon. Just like water doesn't need to be an important element of my honeymoon experience.
In many ways, it can actively inhibit you from certain honeymoon experiences.
Yeah, or makes them a little more complicated.
Right.
So I think for me, it will be Wakanda again.
I think that Atlantis is a chiller place. I think Wakanda is a little bit more like it's a little more like hustle and bustle. If you're like in the like main city,
it's a city. Yeah.
I mean, it is a nation. There's like parts of it too that are just not in a city. But I think you're probably in the city. Certainly, if you're in the city of Wakanda, which I think is what we laid out in round one, then it's a little more hustle and bustle. I'm almost thinking of it as like going to Tokyo on your honeymoon or something like that. Whereas Atlantis, I think, is a little bit more of a beachy, all-exclusive. Like, Atlantis is my sort of, I think, the closest thing here to the, like, all-exclusive honeymoon.
Sandals.
Experience. Yeah. It's kind of like the sandals, but you're, like,
underwater
literally
sandals.
Under the water.
Underwater sandals. I mean, like,
Flippers.
if it logistically works, very cool, but wow. Oof. Man, the room view would be pretty cool. You're, like, snorkeling all the time. I mean, I think Wakanda is just generally a more interesting place to me. I'm sort of with Lisa that I don't have any attachment to, like, I want to see how the Atlanteans live. And all this, no, I don't really care.
Yeah.
All right.
It seems like there's a lot of barriers to fun and enjoyment and relaxation. I think Atlantis is a better trip than it is a honeymoon.
Pat, do you want to give a
I'm gonna throw a sympathy vote to Atlantis. I think it's a little more of a relaxed vibe. I think it's more of you're in your room, you're looking out at these like beautiful undersea views. It's a little more remote, it's a little more private, and a little less hustle and bustle. And I mean, the seafood is just as fresh.
As fresh as it's falling into your room.
Yeah.
Yes. All the time. Okay, speaking of relaxing, we have the Shire and Narnia. Now, what are you guys doing in Narnia? Like, where are you going? Where are you staying? What are the activities?
I feel like we're getting waited on by talking animals.
Interesting. Like Mr. Beaver and Mrs. Beaver. Isn't that what they're actually called, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Mr. Beaver, Mrs. Beaver. They're the only ones.
I
That's why
do
it's
think
not
that there's honestly a lot of, the places I think of mostly are from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and they all have kind of a Shire vibe to them. Like, you could stay in the dam with Mr. and Mrs. Bieber. They would cook for you. It would be really lovely. Mr. Tumnus, as long
Couldn't
as
make a lot of noise with them. It's a small space, though.
it is a small space. But Mr. Tumnus, I feel like, again, would be a great host as long as he's, like, not trying to sell you out to the White Witch and her police. But I think he's got a lovely home. So I think a lot of nice, comparable places to the Shire to stay in Narnia. There's also, like, castles and very cool places to stay. Narnia is a whole nation as well, so you got a lot of geographic diversity.
The very pointy castle seems like I would stay there for a night. Like, it seems like it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or like literally freezing. But
yeah, Narnia is a little bit more of like it's like a traveling honeymoon. It's like a tour. You're staying like
you're doing 2
2
nights
in
in
one
each
place,
place.
2 nights in another.
Yeah.
You're in a castle here.
That's a good
You're in a
idea.
castle there. You're on the like seaporty one where Prince Caspian's whole thing goes down. You're staying a little more, like down home lodging with the beavers. Whereas the Shire is you're like hunkering down in one location and just chilling.
There is a chance, if you stay in Narnia, that you get to meet God. And that's cool. Liam Neeson
And
line?
you've just been married, so any activities you do are totally condoned.
Very cool. C.S. Lewis, big approve.
But
Super
if you go
approve.
to the Shire, if you stay in the Shire, Gandalf might come through. And he might light off little fireworks to celebrate your honeymoon. Yeah.
Both good arguments. God and Gandalf.
I mean, Gandalf and Aslan play a incredibly similar
It's true.
dramatic role in the books with the sacrifice and then coming back and the whole.
Oh my God,
yeah,
you're right.
we've
It
got
is
the
like
whole-
very parallel.
No, we've got the homies, J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis going head to head right here.
It's true. Once again, it's just hard for me to not go for the Shire here. It's got to get my vote. There's also there's a little bit of a war happening in Narnia.
Aren't we
So-
assuming for all of these that they're in kind of their ideal state, which actually for Narnia would be like post most of the events of the Lion, the
Post-war.
Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah.
Reconstruction, yes.
Post-conflict.
Yes. That makes sense. And then for the Shire, you're just before,
I think
the
you're
attack
not
of the
like
Shire.
actively in danger the whole time, but I think the dangers of that world are still like relevant
Yeah.
to the,
For the Shire, it's not a big problem. You're very well separated. For Narnia, depending on if you're doing this sort
unless
of...
unless Saruman and Wormtongue decide to.
That was one time.
For
One
those
time.
of you who've only seen the movies,
Shire
you
gets
wouldn't know what we're talking
big boy
about
attacked
here.
right at the end
Needs to be
for
scoured.
reasons. Yep. It's a big metaphor. Yes, it does get scoured. I feel like Narnia, if you're doing the traveling honeymoon, then it gets a little more dangerous. It gets a little more tricky.
I feel like Narnia is not actually that dangerous when it's not in conflict.
There's also like one big fight in Narnia.
Yeah. And basically everything that comes to attack the Pevensies or anybody throughout is just like working for the White Witch, and then pretty much once the White Witch is gone, everybody's like, "Oh, never mind.
We're done."
You were done."
Whereas this stuff in Middle Earth that'll just like KO you for no reason all the time.
But what about in
like-
the Shire? The Shire does seem more safe, again, according to the movies.
Yeah, there was that one time, but that's it. I'm voting the Shire here. Pat,
I'm also voting the Shire.
Lisa.
I was actually going to vote for Narnia, but I understand
Okay.
being outvoted, and it's okay.
It's okay.
It's only
come to
slightly
terms.
okay. Yeah, I'll live.
Have you guys ever thought, before I leave Narnia for good here, I'm trying to get, sometimes I forget that Daniel is usually on the show. I'm trying to get Daniel to figure out a draft with me where we can talk about, I don't know how to do this, where we can talk about scores for movies that are way better than the actual movie. like scores that get missed because the movies are terrible. I don't know how to turn this into a draft or a bracket or anything like that. It feels like something that Pat has thought about, I know. But Narnia, guys, that score is unreal. It is so good. The movie is fine. But the music is doing some heavy lifting in there. If you guys have seen the old King Arthur movie with, what's her name, Keira Knightley and company, that score.
You want to know what the draft is?
What is the draft?
It's drafting the best parts of bad movies to make your own
an actually good movie.
Great movie.
I love that.
Interesting. Okay. Yep, we found it. All right, moving on. Thanks. That was a great little workshop there for the show, just mid-episode. All right, Rivendell.
This is why you call me into co-host.
This is why this is why you're gonna receive the show on our untimely death. Do you think if we die untimely, it's because of something we did on the show? Probably.
Right, it's going to be some Patreon content. Like, remember when we did the cocktail thing? It's going to be like 2 degrees worse than that, and it's going to kill all of us.
When you try, because your original cocktail had pure caffeine
pills in it.
Like caffeine pills in it. And I think we amended for the actual draft to not do that. But yeah, it might be something like that for Patreon content. Okay,
or
semifinals.
Let's go.
Rivendell versus Westworld. This feels like an appropriate semifinal based on how in high regard we've held both of these places up to this point. Very different vibes. This is like, hilariously, the people in Rivendell are going to be watching you like a hawk. But we think to like make sure you're like good, like a spa. Mm-hmm. In Westworld, all bets are off, baby.
But they're watching you.
But everybody signed NDAs. Every single one of them.
Right.
So like, it is staying here. Rivendell, not the case.
I'm going to come out hard swinging for Westworld here.
Whoa. Tell us more.
I've been kind of feeling this stronger and stronger every time we've discussed Rivendell. I think it's just a little too austere for me. I think there's something about it that seems a little too sacred. It's maybe there's something just going, also when you're a kid and you love Lord of the Rings, you think about Rivendell as kind of like, it's like church.
It's church,
like, where all like very like serious
important
people
things
are, and like
happening.
it's like safe. It's like a safe haven in a like very turbulent world, but it's a grave place. It's a place where Elrond is furrowing his brow and being like, mistakes made thousands of years ago are now coming to fruition.
Here we are at the turning of the tide.
Right, yeah. And it does seem like a spa, but it almost seems more like a spa that's in like the Swiss Alps, where a bunch of like delegations from countries are coming, to hammer out treaties and stuff, which is cool. I would go to Rivendell. It's a cool place. But for a honeymoon, a place where I kind of want to I think Rivendell is a place that it's a bubble from the world, but it's a clear bubble, and you see the rest of the world, and you feel the draining impact it's having on this place. Whereas Westworld is more like, we are kings and queens while we're here, and we are going to have the most like lascivious, just all in honeymoon that we can have, to the point where when we leave Westworld, we will come back and be glad to resume our normal lives. So I just had my bachelor party in New Orleans, and
God,
it was I was texting you and Dan a little bit about this, and some images.
I did see some of those, yeah.
And it was a great bachelor party. In fact, almost a perfect bachelor party, maybe, because it was 85%. This is so much fun. New Orleans is amazing. All this live music, this food, just like incredible. Gambling, there's a casino there. And it was 15% like, Jesus Christ, I cannot wait to get home to Lisa. Like,
I have to get out of here.
Right. And I feel like Westworld would be a little bit like that for a honeymoon. Mm-hmm. Where not only are you having fun and excited to be there, but you're like kind of happy to leave too.
I want to throw something out here that you could accomplish in Westworld. You guys go into Westworld, you, Pat and Lisa, separately, And then the natural events of the world, you know, you spot each other across the long bar of the saloon. You know, some weird robot's making a pass at Lisa. And Pat walks over and is like, excuse me, Mr. Weird Robot. May I have this? And you guys, like, you can do that. That's pretty cool. Nobody's judging you. They're all robots. NDAs, baby.
I do feel like the strangers kink is like that would be my 10-year anniversary at Westworld.
You guys haven't been together long enough to like want to be strangers again. I feel like you guys have been together forever, but okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. I would have gotten tired of Pat by now, but that's just me, I think.
Yeah, we'll see in 3 years when we hit 10. I think that your bachelor party is to Westworld as my bachelorette party is going to be to Rivendell. Because mine, which is happening this weekend, is going to be at a glabin, like a glam cabin, like a nice house upstate, like near the Catskills. It's got a hot tub, it's got a sauna, it's got a salt room, it's got a meditation pod, and
this is amazing.
It's basically a spa in this house in the woods. And that is Rivendell.
This is Rivendell.
Wait, this worked?
I'm
Perfectly.
Yeah, this is very strange. I'm going to come to this bachelorette party and hold some sort of very important government council in the living room so we can get an authentic experience of what you guys would experience in Rivendell, which is just having to not interrupt what Pat affectionately described as the UN.
Yeah, I was like, okay, no Geneva. We are not going to Geneva for anything.
So does this mean you're voting for Rivendell and Pat's voting for Westworld?
I think so.
Oh, no. I like both of these so much. It feels like a good semifinal, so I don't have any qualms about it. But I worry about what choosing Westworld here says about me as a person and my dark desires.
You can't let that influence you.
I'm concerned.
It's your honeymoon, you know? Do what you want. Have the wedding you want.
Honestly, if you go into Westworld, you don't have to do anything crazy. You can just be. You can just exist in a space that doesn't have the stresses of normal life. You can just be.
That's what everyone says when they walk in, and then they get a shotgun in their hands, and everything changes.
Wow. Lisa was on the sales team for Westworld. I've
the
talked
quote?
myself.
Like, there's a demon in every man, and it comes out when you put a shotgun in his hands in a theme park full of sentient robots.
Yep. That was C.S. Lewis who said that. All right, I'm gonna go with Westworld. It is like such a curated experience. I feel like if I don't want something to happen, it doesn't happen. Whereas like Rivendell, I sort of am with Pat. I feel very out of control. I'm like, this is not my space. I am very much just visiting here. And that feels kind of bad. I would like to visit Rivendell, but for a honeymoon, like, something to be said for the power trip. So it's going to be Westworld. I'm surprising even myself.
This is actually getting insane. I was wondering, you know, we could have had a White Lotus on here, one of them. And now I'm thinking it might have made it pretty far through the bracket based on how this is going.
I watched one episode of White Lotus, and then I realized, oh, Lauren would like the show. And every time I do that, I'm like, well, I have to wait to watch it with her, and then the time just like never comes. But I do need to get back to White Lotus because I really liked it, what I saw. Okay. Wakanda versus the Shire. Again, not very similar. But you know what? You know what they have in common, Pat? Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman in both locations.
It's true.
You love to see it. This is very different too. I think Tokyo is a very good comparison that Pat made here. Wakanda is a busy, happening city that is probably very different than somewhere that any of us have been. And there's a lot of value in that, but it is fast. It does not slow down. But you just gotta think they've got like a nice accommodation that can put you up for a while, right?
Yeah, and I feel like I just keep assuming Wakanda is the utopia in terms of city design. So it's like, it's going to have a lot of people, but they're just geniuses
they figured it
of
out.
Design. So
there are enough trains.
They've
trains,
somehow
yeah.
maximized the space so that is both economical in terms of how many people it can accommodate, yet still has that like village communal feeling. They've married community and economy, and that's what I just assume. This is again, I'm just assuming all utopian city.
And to be clear, we're talking about the city in Wakanda and not the full nation, because there's the snowy mountains where the like gorilla tribe is.
Yeah,
and...
it seems like you could do a day excursion if you wanted to somewhere outside of the city, but you're staying in the city. Like that is where you are laying your head. Mm-hmm. How long is this honeymoon that we're planning here today?
I think it depends on the location. You can be.
So I was going to say like 7 days in the Shire. It's one of two things. Either you get a little bored, or if you're me, I hope you embrace the boredom and you say, no, boredom is the point. Like this is like a simple life. Like we're basically in Stardew Valley now, and everything is great. But in Wakanda, you're not going to run out of stuff to do. You're certainly not going to be bored.
Yeah, I think we're really getting into preference rather than
best.
What would be rather than best. Which I
Welcome
think,
to the show, Lisa.
No,
we don't actually decide what's best.
Sometimes there's a right answer and a wrong answer, and right now I don't know that there is one. I think it is. If I were going to make this decision based on how we decided on our honeymoon, then I would have to pick the Shire, because I feel like Wakanda is like we decided to not go somewhere like Tokyo because we would want to spend like 2 weeks there and really see the city and do all of it.
Immerse yourself. Yeah.
Yes. And the Shire feels a little bit more like a place where you could just chill out and again, just enjoy being married, relax, de-stress after wedding. So I think it has that going for it. I think Wakanda is probably cooler, but again, this is like, is it a better trip or is it a better honeymoon? So that's where I'm at.
Is there a part of the Shire that is a bit of a sexual turnoff?
Fatty Bulger, you mean?
Yeah, just it's it's a little
no shoes.
It's no shoes.
Could be into that,
which could be a turn on depending on your situation, but it's a lot. It's very quaint, and I feel like a lot of the trappings are. It's going to be like a lot of like you go to an Airbnb that's like an old cottage, and there's just a bunch of like weird crap in the room you're staying in, and you're sort of like, I don't know about this. Is there any concern there that it's not like a romantic place the way Wakanda certainly could be?
This is a good point. I mean, it's hard to imagine the place you're staying in the Shire, because every place in the Shire is like a family's place. Like it's just been handed down for generation after generation. So to Pat's point, is it sort of like an Airbnb thing where there's like pictures of other people on the wall? Mm-hmm. And you're like, it's not a hotel.
You could be staying like at an inn. I'm sure like the Green Dragon like has rooms that you can
probably
stay
in. It's like a bed and breakfast situation.
Mm-hmm. Rosie Cotton, pour you a nice beer.
Bed, breakfast, and second breakfast.
Nice. Lisa got her one Lord of the Rings reference in there, baby. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, Pat. That life is romantic to me, so I'm voting the Shire. I find romance in not having to be concerned with other things besides the person you're with. You know what I mean? Wow. Focus. You get to focus.
Right. Even if there's like a bunch of dolls in your room. Like old-timey dolls.
Yeah, I'm still fine.
Eyes looking at you.
I'm still fine. But you make a good point. All right, I'm on the Shire. Do you have a vote here, Pat?
I want to hear what Lisa is going to ultimately go with.
I'm real stuck. I'm struggling. Because if I pick Wakanda, it feels like I'm saying we made the wrong decision for our own.
I think you can. I don't think you have to carry that because Wakanda doesn't exist. So it's not like you're like if Wakanda actually existed, right. Maybe we would feel differently about our situation.
the personal indictment you feel about your own decision making.
And also, like,
creeps
for our
into-
Portugal
art
trip,
becomes life.
we're staying in Porto and Lisbon. You know, it's not.
I
like
was gonna
we're
say,
just gonna be
give
in
me
the
a
Shire
break,
the whole
you
time.
guys.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've actually hacked it so we have both of these because Pinhow is
Right.
basically the Shire. So
Yeah.
I went to a Sandals that could have been anywhere. Like there was nothing specific really about where we were. So I do think there's some value in like getting a little bit of both. So you guys did well.
All right,
Don't let that
Wakanda.
affect you.
Wakanda it is.
All right, then it's down to you, Sir Pat.
Damn.
We forgot about the strings. We forgot about the absolutely diegetic music of the Shire. Definitely real.
Also, it would have been like pretty devastating, I think, for probably both of you if both Lord of the Rings picks had gone out.
Got
this
knocked out in the
round.
semis.
I mean, I was actively voting against Rivendell. So even though Lord of the Rings is like, you know, my canonical, you know, fictional world that I obsess about, I still have some qualms about Rivendell. But no, the Shire, yeah. I mean,
When I did random seeding, I did notice that the Shire and Rivendell could have met in the final, and I was like, ooh, maybe. But instead, we've got a really unhinged matchup. This is the strangest thing I could have imagined.
How did we
This
get
is
here?
so weird that we have Westworld versus the Shire. The Shire, where nobody has stabbed anybody for 1,000 years, and we have Westworld. Oh,
This is the
my
final?
God. This is the final. This is what we are left with. This is the fruits of our labor.
I'm impressed with the run Westworld has made. Because back in round one, before Preston started selling it, I was like, this is one of the worst choices. This is like an unhinged, insane thing. But it's advocated for itself quite well.
Customizable.
Yeah.
Customizable.
And if you lean in to it, you can get a lot out of it. I would imagine. And if you're not a like Roy family, dead-eyed, you know, like the only place I can feel something is, you know, out here where I've just like scalped 3 settlers and you know, like riding, like dragging their corpses behind me on a horse. If I can feel things in other ways, then maybe you have a healthier relationship with Westworld.
Is there any point in going back to the food argument here? What do we know about the food offerings of these two locations?
Both seem like you're playing with fire to a certain extent in terms of just like food hygiene and culinary prep. I think you're getting a lot of farm to table in the Shire.
Yep, that's basically
is
all
nice.
there is. Yep.
Home cooked meals,
Sure.
home style.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Westworld,
pub food.
I feel like in Westworld, you're also probably getting some really good food if you want it, because this is a place where billionaires go.
I
You know?
So
disagree.
the food
I
could,
bet they want to eat the same gruel and like hardtack and whatever they ate in the Wild West.
it is
that's
sort of
why
true.
they go to
Everything
Westworld.
about it is authentic experience. So the
But I
food
feel
is
like
going to be.
I feel like they kind of it's like the hardcore people were like that, but like the newer people, they had the like soft, easy mode options for them, where they would go to like the weird orgy palace room that they had in season 1.
Oh yeah,
And there was like
I do remember that.
feast there. That show was bad. Also, I don't know if the final is the time to go on a wild tangent. where
Wait.
all of the ways.
How
in which
much of it did
Westworld
you
was
watch?
I watched the whole first season, and I watched
Okay.
like the first couple episodes of season 2. It's a dramatically broken show because
That's why
it's
we love
if
it.
it's we don't, okay. We don't. Sorry, subscribers only content. I will rant at you for 25 minutes about why Westworld is bad.
I liked Westworld.
I like get very pissed at people who have interesting ideas and they think that that's enough. Like this is, and it wasn't even an
Big
original
round of
idea.
applause.
This is a remake. Like it's a remake of a movie. Like the concept was already there. Like they clearly didn't have an actual plan of where this was going. They were like, boy, it would be interesting to have a player piano that plays like haunting covers of pop songs. That's it. I thought it was really cool. I really wanted it to go somewhere and it didn't. And I was
I actually agree with you guys that like I was so hooked on the premise that I was willing to ignore all the reasons it was not very good.
Same.
And I do
was also
think actually
very hooked early.
the performances I do think are very, very, very good, but they're not given a lot to do. Like,
Although, shout out James Marsden's kicking off like a great string of recent performances of him having just like a grand old time.
yes, just here for the fun. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, cut to someone listening to this podcast. We're 2 hours and 27 minutes into it, and they're like, what the fuck are these people talking about right
What are we
now?
doing
like,
again?
Like, why is this, what does this have to do with... So,
Have fun editing.
I'm going to vote for the Shire here. I'm going to vote for the Shire because the part of our honeymoon that I'm most excited about, as Lisa alluded to earlier, is there's this tiny little town in the Douro Valley in Portugal called Pinhao, where you take an old train from Porto along the river to get to it. And it's got this like beautiful mosaic little train station that you get out at. And we just have like an apartment in town, and we have basically no plans other than to just exist there. And you can like walk these rolling hills, and there's little wineries like up at the top of the hill, and there's tiny little restaurants that are just serving, you know, like sardines that they pulled out of the river that day. And we don't have any like grand schemes or grand designs. We're just gonna like cook and read and drink wine and pretend that that's all the world asks of you for a few days. And that's why I'm voting for the Shire, because that's what I want to do on my honeymoon.
What is that place called?
Pinhao.
I would like to amend that we just vote for Pinhao instead. Sounds amazing. Sounds so lovely. Boy, he makes a strong, compelling case there. Lisa, are you going to make this come down to me, or do you have a
No, I mean, I think the only thing that makes me feel a little like slightly disappointed that we're going to end up with the Shire as our winner is we're basically just voting for New Zealand, and that's already a understandably very popular honeymoon destination. People actually do this, and they go to like where they filmed, and they see the sheep and the everything. And so that gives me like a tiny bit of disappointment, but I'm thinking about this more as like a lot of the reasons we've given are the lore of Lord of the Rings is essential to the good experience, not just that it's cute and it's in a beautiful place.
There is something distinct about it being the Shire and not like the place where the Shire is, because the people who are visiting the place where the Shire is, they can see where it's filmed, are probably going to be a little insufferable to be around after a certain amount of time, and like having it be lived in is like a pretty big considerable difference. I've actually wavered a lot recently on whether or not I do want to go to New Zealand and do the Lord of the Rings tour, because having, as I'm sure Pat has, watched like every single behind the scenes clip imaginable, I just have a sense of how they took two different geographic locations and basically layered them on top of each other to make that one shot. And I just don't think that while the pieces of New Zealand were put together to make that movie, like those places don't exist. Like they're not real. You know what I mean? So like I feel like I would be disappointed.
Yeah.
A little bit, because it's close to being real. You took one location and then you replaced the backdrop of that one location with a mountain, and suddenly it became magic just with two ingredients. But like the fact that it's not quite that, I think would bother me a little bit.
I never want to go. I never want to go. I don't even want to go like to Australia. That's too close. Like I just
get me out of here.
It needs to, like, I would take sick days I would fake sick days in middle school so I could just watch the behind the scenes featurettes from like the, you know, Two Towers box set or whatever, or in the case of the Shire, you know, Fellowship or Return of the King. Because I just didn't want to be in 7th grade, and what I wanted to be was in the Shire, in Middle Earth. I need that place to continue to exist in my heart.
Yes.
And that's just where it has to stay.
All right. Well, I think it's a clean sweep for the Shire. But I am personally shocked that Westworld made it this far.
Yeah, amazing run for Westworld. Like,
yeah, I think you wanted it out first round, maybe. It was close there for a second against King's Landing. But But wow, so the Shire is the most desirable fictional place for honeymoon. Was it going to be anything else? I don't think so.
I was gonna go Casino Royale. If it
You
came
were
down to
ready.
Casino Royale in the shower, forget everything I just said about our quaint, like, agrarian
No,
honeymoon.
I want to
that
be
we're
around
doing.
lobsters. I want to
Right,
have
I
a
want-
briefcase handcuffed to my
I
arm.
want to look fly as hell, and I want to see a dude try to seduce someone who's also a spy.
Amazing. Well, dear listeners, I think Lisa mentioned it. We have just such a lovely Discord community. But listen. I want to hear about this one because I know we got some things wrong. I'm almost positive we did. Come at me. Daniel's not here. He's not going to care. Daniel's going to listen to this. He's going to come at us in the
If he
Discord.
makes it.
If he
No,
makes
he
it.
won't. No, he won't. He'll be shocked how we got here, but he'll
Do you guys-
agree.
Do you guys think Daniel likes the show enough to listen to this episode?
What do you think Daniel would have picked out of these 16?
Oh wow, this is a good final segment of the show before we close.
It's the Kanto region. It's the Kanto
mean-
region. It's gotta be.
He might have kept it alive.
He would definitely have picked the Kanto region over Rivendell, but I don't know that would have helped because I don't know. I just feel like the votes wouldn't be there. What would he actually pick from here? He'd have a weird argument about Neverland that didn't make any sense.
I could see him being very high in Atlantis, potentially. Too.
Yes. Yeah. Or Jurassic Park, maybe. Yeah.
Jurassic Park going up against the Shire in round 1 was tough.
That was tough. That should have been down here somewhere, for sure. Yeah, in the later rounds. But anyways, that
Look,
is
it
going to
shouldn't
do
have
it.
lost all those games during the regular season to get that seed.
It's true. You drew the tough matchup for a reason. And listen, the dinosaurs died because they deserved it. That is the
Right.
one takeaway we've got from this show. It was because of sin, I think is what Lisa said, which is why she's such a big C.S. Lewis fan. So,
Got me.
anyways, do you guys have something to... Do you want to plug the registry? Should people just go buy you gifts?
Yes, this
Just
was
like-
all guerrilla marketing for getting
For the
our
registry.
broke asses out to Portugal. Yeah, you can donate to our registry. Well, I don't know the best way to do that is. You can go to...
If you just Google the both of your names, then it should come up. That's usually how
it's-
Zola works. That's how I found it, I think.
It's zola.com/ LKPS 2024. Is that right?
I think so. Or you could just Venmo Pat.
You can Venmo me
Everybody who's
I am
listening, Venmo
at
Pat,
Patrick.
$10.
at Patrick-Stegemoeller, the only Patrick Stegemoeller on Venmo. So
Amazing.
that's easy. But we have a lot of important things on our registry. We've got...
I must say, you guys actually have a very cute registry. Like, there are a lot of great things. And I've looked at a couple recently that have, like, personally offended me. This was not one of them. I was like, oh, this is adorable. I'm more than happy to scroll through here.
Yeah, we really need some donations to the Exotic Bird Fund. That's on there. So, please.
Awesome. Come on,
The
guys.
upkeep on exotic birds is out of control.
Drafting community, come together. Not
For
to
the
support
birds.
the show, but for the exotic birds in particular.
I believe it's $350,000. So
Every
we're-
little bit helps.
Yeah, every little bit helps.
Okay.
That's why
well,
we do these telethons. Is
for
that,
just $1 a day, you can help Pat find an exotic bird. Okay, well, thanks everybody for listening this week. We hope Daniel's feeling a little bit better. Thanks to all the people who are supporting us on Patreon. There is going to be a Patreon special episode. I have no idea what it's going to be, but I've really been enjoying the ones that we've put out so far. Daniel has basically let the Patreon special episodes go and he's let me have them, which is very fun. As a creative outlet, I've been making a lot of slideshows and having a grand old time. So come visit us over there, subscribe, and you get an extra couple episodes a month. Big thank you to Pat and Lisa. I think we discovered on this episode that Daniel is the one that actually keeps the show under an hour and a half, which is good to know. It's good to know what happens when you pull one of the support beams out, what collapses first, just so that in the event of an emergency, you know where to run. So that's what we did the show. But big props. Any final thoughts on the bracket or anything else in life from Pat and Lisa?
If you have the means, go on a honeymoon right after your wedding. We haven't done it
Immediately
yet.
after.
but that's what I would recommend based on us thinking it's a good idea right now.
It's a great idea. Fantastic idea. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Ooh, should I do the tagline because Dan's not here?
Yeah.
And he can't stop me? Go get in a fight with somebody you love.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
Ba-ba-da-ba.